My boss calls me into the meeting room along with the HR lady who was there, and I sit down and he says, "Jeff, you're fired." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you're overqualified for the role. We need someone who is less qualified." And then I said, "Well, why then did you hire me? I had other offers. I didn't have to take this role. I had other options." And this was, kind of caught me off guard a little bit because I've never been fired before, and I have positive references from every place I've ever worked because I'm such a hard worker. Even difficult work environments have always performed at a very high level, and that's how I've been able to, command the salaries and the income that I've been able to receive and earn. So we're talking more, and I'm asking questions, and my boss is weirdly looking at his computer. He's vague, he's distant. He just couldn't really give me a clear answer to anything other than just me being overqualified for this role. So I said to him, and I'll use the exact phrase that I used. And the exact phrase that I used, I sat back in my chair, looked at the HR lady, looked back at my boss, and I said, "I'm almost ready to say, fuck you." And in that moment, my boss's eyes got a little bit watery. It looked like he was about to cry. He wasn't actually crying, but he was like on the brink of tears. And at that point, I just respectfully said, "Well, if you want to do some real talk here, let's do real talk. You have not been a good leader." And I gave specific examples, not only to me, but also to the team. And, he denied them, he minimized them, classic projection. He couldn't own his mistakes. So lo and behold, this, man escorts me out of the building and, shakes my hand. I shake his hand. So I'm out in front of the building, and it just so happens, pure serendipity. I mean, you couldn't make this up in a movie. At that exact moment that I'm exiting the building for good, the CEO of the company was walking back into the building from wherever he went. So I started talking to him. I told him that I was fired, and he was shocked. He said, "Jeff, I can't believe I'm hearing this. You've been such a high performer and such a valuable asset to the team. I've always had positive interactions with you." And at that moment, my boss, actually along with HR, but I'll keep the focus on my boss, they both come out, my boss and HR, because my boss is so pathetic, so insecure, and so fragile as a human being. Even though he just kicked me out of the company, he couldn't give me 5 minutes with the CEO. So he's standing there now listening to the conversation between me and the CEO. So I turned to my boss in front of the CEO, and I said, "Sir, you're making the CEO feel awkward, and you're making me feel awkward." Unbelievable. The CEO turned to me and he said, "Jeff, I'd be more than happy to give you a recommendation, a reference letter, because you have been so valuable to our company. Take a week, you'll be all right." Later that night, I get a text message from my boss, and he says that I was mean to him. Think about this for a second. He just laid me off unexpectedly, saying you're a high performer, but you're overqualified. And then I was blunt, and honestly, I think I was way less blunt than I could have been. Many friends actually told me that I should have been way more blunt. I really wasn't that blunt given the circumstances. I stayed cool, I stayed respectful, I had a great conversation with the CEO, talked to a few colleagues on my way out of the door. I barely was honest with this guy. He's so fragile and insecure that he's now seeking my emotional validation. He said, "You were mean to me. I want to talk to you on the phone more and explain things." I didn't respond. Look, I have consulting offers not only from companies all across Florida, but from companies in New York, California, and all across the Netherlands. I just lived in the Netherlands for 6 years. I still have an apartment in the Netherlands. There are still recruiters contacting me about consulting and job opportunities all across the Netherlands. I can walk out of a job at any time. I'm not tied to any one company. This small, insecure, pathetic man means nothing to me. And I'm not saying that in an angry way. I wanted to make a video because sometimes my text posts come across a little bit differently than the videos, but it doesn't mean anything to me because I have so many opportunities everywhere. My fourth book is crushing it, and I'm doing really, really well. I got to get the door here because the serviceman is here. I'll just end it by saying, you're the asset. The company doesn't have any power over you. You are the asset. Sorry to cut this short. I got to run.